The Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Amendment Bill 2019, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman to move a motion for consideration of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Amendment Bill 2019.
Sir, I rise to move that the bill further to amend the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Code 2016 be taken into consideration.
You can speak if you want. You can also speak few lines if you want.
So should I do it now or after the...
Even after, even now if you want.
All right, so thank you very much.
You can speak.
So thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'll just make some introductory remarks as to why we have to consider this amendment bill to the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Code. So till before the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code of 2016 was brought in, the insolvency framework itself, the insolvency resolution framework, was all scattered and fragmented, leading to suboptimal realization or outcome of the intended legislative intent of the bill itself. So the average time taken for any resolution of insolvency was almost like 4.3 years. And that kind of a time also involved cost. Nearly 9% resolution costs, and recovery rate was only about 26%. Just going back a little, we also saw earlier a regime where you had the Sikh Industrial Companies Special Provisions Act of the 1985 vintage, and that also failed to produce the desired results. The SICA regime created a lot of protective wall against recovery and the perpetual control of the management responsible for the mismanagement. Later, unlike the SICA regime, in this particular insolvency code which was passed, we have a greater opportunity for resolving in favor of the financial creditors. The debtors in the SICA regime had further control even after the Sikh Industrial Companies Act had been invoked, but the debtor continued to keep hold of and possession of the properties. Now, further, if you were to look at the SARFAESI Act, you saw a regime where the focus was on recovery of debts, and the object, in contrast, the object of the code is for rescue of the company, so that even if it's in difficulty, the problems are minimized and the losses are fairly distributed, and the financial burden is not on any one particular individual or particular category of creditors. So the last resort, in a way, for the code was liquidation. And given this kind of a progressive feature, the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Code acquired a great importance, and post the passing of this, there's been a lot of sense of relief among the companies, which even probably had the chance of becoming a going concern rather than leading to liquidation. So the World Bank Ease of Doing Business for India improved post the bringing in of the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Code. The ranks improved for India, gave a lot of hope for industries that if they really do want to have the process of liquidation brought in, there is an amicable way of coming out of it, and also without any black mark on them. So as this was going on, we also within 2.5 years of this code realized that there are certain areas in which, for want of clarity, the interpretation given by various courts or even by the NCLT led to a very vital question, that if the legislative intent of the IBC was itself becoming weakened just for want of clarity. So today, as we are coming here with an amendment bill, it is only to make sure that each of these amendments which are being brought in are brought in for greater clarity which is required, so that no gray area prevails, no interpretations which are going against the original intent of the Act is still prevalent. So you find that in this particular amendment, set of amendments that we are bringing in, of the 7, you can say 8 amendments that we are bringing in, 4 are explanatory in nature. And any additional amendments that we are talking about are more to ensure that interpretation is given for time which is required and a particular time that has got to be laid before for the resolution itself. We are not leaving it open-ended, we are not giving longer unending time, and therefore bringing in clarity in terms of time-bound decisions that are essential to keep the legislative intent. So, in a way, the code is being also monitored by a central government expert committee, and the amendments which are being made are made after due stakeholder consultations, a lot of discussion which has been happening through the media, and also industries which have been approaching the government saying an urgency with which the set of amendments are to be brought in, because courts are also waiting. I can in fact give the picture of the number of cases which are pending even at the application stage. So this is aimed at, and very many big insolvency cases are all waiting for resolution. The balance of interests of all the stakeholders was becoming an issue, and therefore we have brought in this set of amendments for the consideration of the House, and I hope the members would have gone through the papers to see why it is so urgent, why, because of the various different interpretations which are coming through the tribunals and courts, there is a fear that the original intent with which this Parliament passed the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code is probably getting diluted. We should not allow the dilution for want of clarity, and therefore I appeal to honourable members that the amendments be looked at in that perspective, and we are here to, of course, respond to any question that the members would ask, but the need is to have this passed so that there is clarity for all the businesses who are seeking insolvency and bankruptcy code to give them a solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Motion moved. There is one amendment by Sri Vinay Vishwam for reference of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Amendment Bill 2019 to a select committee of the Rajya Sabha. You move amendment with a list of names for the proposed committee.
Sir, only one sentence. It's a matter of principle, and that was raised in the House many a times. I won't want to repeat it. I shall speak on the bill later.
Since you have not given names of select committee members.
That's why.
Not move. The motion for consideration of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Amendment Bill 2019 are now open for discussion.